Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video doing USA forecast for today's second video. So as always on a Wednesday, we're having a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days and beyond for the United States. I'll get on that for you very shortly. Just say about the first video today was our 7 AM forecast, and we've also got a 10 to 14 day coming up for the UK and for Northern Europe as well. So please check out all today's videos, like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Right, we're going to begin the USA forecast in the tropical Atlantic. So I've got this yellow X just here, a disturbance area. It's disturbance 1 with a 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days and a 10% chance in the next 5 days. I don't think we need to worry too much about that. Otherwise, we're in a quieter phase with the with the hurricane season at the moment. Let's go to tropical tidbits, shall we, and have a look and see what latest GFS is forecasting in terms of tropical development. So this is that disturbance area just here, that yellow X I just showed you from National Hurricane Center a moment ago, just there in the Caribbean. If we run through, we can see that that disturbance area is going to go eastwards and may become a tropical storm, but it looks like it's really stay in a disturbance area as it pushes away from the Caribbean. Otherwise, not much else happening over the next few days up to the weekend. Into the early part of next week, again, all looking rather quiet through the tropical Atlantic. There is an area of low pressures exiting the east coast of America and moving into the Atlantic just there. That's at the end of next week on the 22nd of October. Again, I don't think we have to worry too much about that one. There's like a disturbance area down here way south in the tropical Atlantic. Let's see if that develops more. It doesn't look like it's going to. So all looking rather quiet over the next, week to 10 days. Now, a very long way out. We're at 26th of October now. There is something beginning to pop off here in the southern part of the Caribbean. There's an area of low pressure GFS is developing there, and that gets developed into a hurricane as it pushes through the Caribbean and towards the Gulf of Mexico. That's a major hurricane by the end of October. This is Friday the 29th of October as far as the GFS midnight run goes. At that point, we've got a 940 millibar area of low pressure in the Caribbean and moving towards the Gulf of Mexico. That is a major hurricane that GFS is developing there by 2 weeks out. But of course, that's a very, very long way out for this kind of development. I mean, the reliable time frame, which is like next week to 10 days, there's nothing to worry about for the United States in terms of, or the Caribbean, or like Gulf of Mexico. Don't have to worry about in terms of tropical storms and hurricanes. But at 2 weeks out, the GFS is developing a major hurricane there by the very end of its run. So it's one to keep an eye on, but not necessarily to be overly concerned about. We'll know more by this time next week whether that is indeed going to develop into a major hurricane. But in the next week, 10 days, there's not much to worry about. Right, okay, so let's have a look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for New York. So at the moment, the warm autumn goes on. That's got a few more days to run. There is going to be a cold snap coming up at the early part of next week, a bit of a plummet in the temperature. Not particularly cold, but from the very warm weather that you've got at the moment, there is going to be a little bit of a plunge in the temperature. Not for all that long. They start to lift back up again, these upper air temperature ensembles, as we go through towards the end of next week, and then just basically staying quite close to average. Also, lots of dry weather, loads of dry weather over the next few days while it's warm. As we get that drop in the temperature, that's going to be associated with a cold front and area with low pressure, so there'll be some rain pushing through with that, and then basically dry for the next days after that. So over the next week, 10 days, lots of dry weather for eastern parts of America, maybe going a little bit more unsettled into the last week of October. Of course, that is a very long way out. Temperature anomalies from the 13th to 21st of October are going to be warmer than average in central and eastern parts of states, a little bit cooler than average out west. Precipitation anomalies from the 13th to 21st of October, dry in these western and southwest states, and also in the eastern and southeastern states, a little bit wetter though through these Rocky Mountain states, through these south states, and possibly into some parts of the Midwest. Right, so this is how the setup is across America today. We've got an area of high pressure still dominating in the east, keeping the warm weather going. Meanwhile, out west, low pressure is bringing more unsettled weather, spells of rain and cooler temperatures too, particularly through these Rocky Mountain states, these central states here. Upper air temperatures look like that, pretty warm across the southern and eastern states, a lot cooler out in the west and in the northwest. As we go through the next few days, we're going to find this ridge continuing in the east, but gradually weakening as low pressure is trying to push in from the west and northwest and weakening off. As we go into the weekend, that's where we get this cold front pushing through, but I showed you with that precipitation spike on the New York ensemble. So there will be a band of rain on a cold front pushing southwards and eastwards and introducing cooler, colder air from Canada through the weekend. The low pressure itself, though, will be pushed back up towards Canada. And there's still quite a bit of high pressure, so I don't think it's going to be all that much in the way of rain. But there will be a drop in the temperature after a band of rain push through. That's how the upper air temperatures look for Sunday. So, you know, it's cooler for those northern and eastern states. Nothing particularly cold, but it's certainly a little bit cooler there. And out west, yes, it's a lot warmer across those western states. Into next week, again, this ridge sort of reforms again across these southern eastern states. That will lift temperature back up once more, bring lots of dry weather to the east. There is this area of low pressure just here, trying to push southwards from Canada into the northern states. That starts to move in towards the Midwest. Through the middle part of next week, we'll bring some wet weather through the Midwest. Meanwhile, in the east, it stays dry and warm, and still relatively high pressure out west, actually, away from the Pacific coast anyway. So quite a bit of dry weather out in most western states too, and pretty warm through there as well. Moving up towards day 10, this trough begins to push in towards the east. That could bring some heavy showers, maybe some wet weather across these midwestern and perhaps even eastern states. Meanwhile, in the west, we've got the ridge bringing lots of dry and quite warm weather through there. And up to day 10, that's how we look. So again, a ridge in the west brings lots of dry, warm weather to the west. Eastern areas look cooler and more unsettled with this area of low pressure. Upper air temperatures at day 10 show that the west is pretty warm. The east is actually quite cool, but not overly cold. And then we head on into the extended range, and we get this plunge developing from Canada. Now, this is a long way out, so this is 27th of October, but there is a deep low over Canada that's pulling in much colder air from Canada. The first sort of surge of proper cold Arctic, Canadian Arctic air begins to push southwards there by the end of October in towards the Midwest. Again, this is a very, very long way out, but if it came off, it would bring some snow to these northern eastern states with this area of low pressure here around. You found quite a significant area of low pressure, and again, that's probably bringing air that's cold enough to deliver snow to these midwestern and northeast states, especially upland areas. Meanwhile, out in west, it remains pretty hot through these western and particularly southwestern states of America. So by the end of October, maybe a little taste of winter for northern and northeastern states, but before then, nothing particularly out of the ordinary going on. ECM looks like this. Euro again has this ridge across these eastern states, and warm weather too, cooler, more unsettled with low pressure out across the western states. That's how the upper air temperatures look. Hot in the south, very warm in the eastern states, cooler in the west and in the northwest. Through the rest of the week and into the weekend, we will find that the ridge begins to weaken a little bit in the east as low pressure moves in from the west. That will bring a band of rain and drop the temperature into these midwestern and eastern states with this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, in the west, the area of high pressure actually strengthens and turns things drier and warmer out west. Early next week, again, this ridge sort of comes back across the eastern, southeast parts of America. That will bring warmer air back in once again to those eastern states. That's how the upper air temperatures look through the middle part of next week. Relatively warm across most parts of America, a little bit cooler in the central northern states. And then on up towards day 10, we get an area of low pressure trough develops in these eastern states. That could bring showers or longer spells of rain, and probably lowers the temperature a little bit across these eastern states as well. But again, nothing out of the ordinary going on. No sign of anything particularly cold up to like the next week to 10 days. And again, no sign of any sort of hurricane activity in the next week to 10 days in most southern and southeastern parts of America. So all rather quiet at the moment. CFSV2 last week means the 500 millibar height is broken down to week periods. The first week period will take us from the 12th through to the 18th of October. The coming week we'll have a ridge across these eastern and northeastern states with the trough out in the west. So obviously western states are cooler, eastern states are much warmer and also drier under that big ridge of high pressure. Week 2 is going to be the 19th, 25th of October. Again, lots of ridging in these northern states, but tropical low pressure being pushed out in towards the Pacific as well, probably turns western areas drier and warmer too. Into week 3, it's going to be the 26th of October to 1st of November. Again, a ridge over in the east and the northeast, a trough out in the west. That could bring something cooler, more unsettled to those western states. But generally, again, this ridge is bringing up lots of warm air. Not necessarily dry, there might be some heavy showers and whatnot mixed in, but brings up a lot of warm air from the south with that ridge. And then into week 4, it's the 2nd to the 8th of November, basically still keeping the high pressure going across those eastern states and possibly extending it a little bit further westwards as well. Let's have a look at temperature anomaly. Looks like that east-west split for the coming week, 12th to the 18th of October, so it's cooler in these western and northwestern states, hotter in these eastern and northeastern states. Go through to week 2, which will be the 19th to 25th of October, cooler in the southern states, very warm across those northern states. Into week 3, just widespread warmth across most parts of America away from the Pacific coast, generally significantly above average temperatures in all parts of America there at the end of October. And into week 4, which will be the 2nd to the 8th of October, getting cooler in the northwest, otherwise most of parts of America looking very warm with those temperature anomalies. Precipitation, finally, week 1, 12th to 18th of October, dry in the east and towards the northwest, a little bit more unsettled through these central states. Into week 2, it's the 19th to 25th of October, a little bit wetter out to the west, rather dry through those central and eastern states. Into week 3, it's the 26th of October, 1st of November. Wetter through those central western states, still pretty dry though in the east and particularly in the northeast. And then by the time we get through to week 4, which is going to be the 2nd to the 8th of November, dry in the west, dry in the south and southeast, perhaps a little bit more unsettled through those central areas. So, yeah, we are going to see a little bit of a cool down into the east and the northeast this weekend. It's not going to last all that long. Early next week, probably see temperature lifting back up again. And the cooler, more unsettled weather that we've got at the moment in the west is probably going to be replaced by something warmer and drier over the weekend as it cools down a bit in the east. No sign of anything particularly cold over the next week to 10 days. We might get a bit of a cold blast in the closing days of October into the Midwest and the Northeast. That remains to be seen. It's a long way out. And, of course, no sign of anything particularly, bad going on in terms of tropical storms or hurricanes. No sign of any impacts over the next week to 10 days. The GFS is playing with that major hurricane by 2 weeks out. But, again, that is a really long way off. So, we'll know more about that next week. Right, okay, so that's the USA forecast this week. If you enjoyed it, then please say you like the video. And we're back later on with your 10 to 14 day for the UK and for Europe as well. For this week's USA forecast, so that's all for now, and thanks for watching.